Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Yet it appeared to me that no one at the flag officer level was addressing the safety risk posed by UAPs. Instead, pilots were left to mitigate these threats on their own without guidance or support.
We now have existing and former U.S. government officials who have told Congress that AARO and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft.
Those are just some of the interesting moments from this week's congressional hearing on UAPs, what many call UFOs. Former Pentagon insider turned investigator Luis Elizondo, retired Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, and independent journalist Michael Schellenberger all testifying before Congress this week. Elizondo was also featured exclusively here on NewsNation during our Confessions from a UFO Hunter special.
We're not alone. We are not alone in this universe, and it is a simple fact. And the U.S. government has been aware of that fact now for decades.
Let's bring in Nick Pope now, who investigated UFOs for the UK Ministry of Defense. Nick, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to be back.
We're on the other side of this UAP hearing now. Any major moments standing out to you?
Well, I think it was that first clip that you played with Lou Elizondo basically being put on the spot by Chairwoman Nancy Mace and told, I want a yes or no answer. Is there a covert government program looking at crash retrievals? And he said yes. And follow-up question, is the purpose of this to reverse engineer the technology? And again, he said yes. And of course, this is the guy who was handling the UAP issue for the Pentagon. And, you know, he chooses his words very carefully, but it was not, yes, I think there might be. It was not, yes, somebody else told me. It was absolutely unequivocally yes and yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your time examining evidence of UAPs for the British government. The more you delved into it, did you become more or less convinced of the possibility of alien life?
More convinced, because consistently we had this proportion of cases that we couldn't explain in conventional terms, where these things were running rings around the cutting edge of our own technology. And we heard, of course, some testimony about that this week. And so when we got those sorts of cases, you just think, if it's not our technology, and if it's not adversary technology, and if it's not misidentifications of some ordinary objects or phenomena, there's frankly not much left. And that's why we need more hearings. And of course, the great news is we have another hearing actually coming up on Tuesday, this time in the Senate.
You know, the Ministry of Defense said that it was open-minded, but there was no evidence to suggest that any UFO sightings posed any threat to the UK or that they were extraterrestrial in origin. After working the colloquially called UFO desk there, do you agree with that stance?
No, not really. And frankly, I think I wrote that line. I think I remember drafting something like that for our public affairs folks back in the early 90s.
Why did you write it? Why did you write it?
Look, our job, really, I know this sounds terrible, but in a sense, we wanted to get the British Parliament, the media, and the public off our backs. We were getting a lot of hassle on this, and we just tried consistently to play down the true extent of our interest in this subject and our involvement in it. And it was a line that I had inherited, but I had to carry on that policy. And I apologize for it now. It's, you know, not something I'm proud of.
I appreciate you being so forthcoming on this. What questions do you still have? What questions would you pose at the next hearing?
Well, I think one hint that was dropped, which I think we want to hear more about, is the UAP that have been detected on satellites. So more about that. But also, both Lou Elizondo and Tim Gallaudet talked about essentially a sort of dirty tricks campaign against witnesses and against whistleblowers to kind of smear their names, maybe to kind of dissuade other people from coming forward. I think we want to know about that, and I hope that Congress will keep pushing and say that this is absolutely unacceptable.
Nick Pope, always appreciate your time. Always good to see you. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.